Hey, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to do some more wiring on the GTO, so come along. So last week we got a bunch of the sensors wired up. That's fine and dandy. We still have to wire up the crank position sensor on the distributor. Might do that today. What I want to do first though is I want to get the fans wired up, and probably once Jason's done making the fuel rail brackets, get the fuel pressure sensor put in and get that wired up, because then it's really just coil, wideband, and fuel injectors, which really shouldn't be that long. We could probably attempt a first start in 3-ish weeks if everything goes well. Obviously, stuff always is going to be a problem, but as long as we keep making progress like this, I don't think it's going to be too bad. Oh yeah, one of the other things, I'm going to wire up the fuel pump today too, because that's easy. That's a one-wire job. So yeah, stick around. So the first thing I want to do is I want to verify polarity. Ideally, red is power, black is ground, but you never really know to be sure. Yep. Those are some loud fans. So if I wanted to be real cheeky, I could wire each one of these fans up to a different relay. So, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just wire them to the same one. That way, if they're on, they're on. Yes. All right, so there's this connector. So we'll leave that down there. We're gonna have to run a output wire from the relay box out here for them. I have a wire, I'm not sure if it's gonna be long enough though. So right about there. So now we can run this one through. What we'll do is we'll hook it up on this end first and get it routed the way we want. That we know how much real estate we're dealing with. Inside the car, as long as it looks like there should be plenty. Yeah, we're not gonna run out of any. The ECU is like right behind the firewall anyway. Alright, so there they come. I'm gonna put a little P-clamp right here for this. Get a couple more clamps to mount on the back of the control arm right there, and then up into the firewall. We do still have to hook up the relay inside the car. I'll probably do that tonight, but that can also wait. It's not that big a deal. For all intents and purposes, we got working fans. So I think next is gonna be the fuel pump. Yeah, so what we gotta do is we gotta wire a DPO, the power, and the relay, the relay power, the power to the fans, and then the trigger for the relay, which is the DPO. Which is nice when you buy these premium haltech harnesses. There's a bunch of, well, I shouldn't say a bunch, but 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 4 spare relay spots. Pretty sure I've got it figured out what we need to do here. Famous last words, I know, but worst case, we screwed up and we get to do it all over. Cool. That should be all that we really need for the fans. So like I said, I want to get the fuel pump wired, and then we can test that kind of, and then I want to test the fans. So this wire right here is the fuel pump out. This right here is actually a fuel pump wire from the Holly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this and connect it to this, and we should be golden in terms of fuel pump. All right, for all intents and purposes, I could probably hook up the ground and see if the fuel pump turns on. You want to do me a favor, Jason? What? You want to hold the bolt in the gas line? Yeah, so if I hit this, it should prime the car and we should hear the fuel pump. Ready? Hold on. I hear it back there. I hear the relay at least. Do you hear it? Going back. Do you hear it? No. You don't? No. Oh, I might be hearing it in the car. So I'm gonna come back to the fuel pump. What I wanna do though is I wanna see if we can get the radiator fans working right now, because I'm swapping the relay between the two. I'm pretty sure it's probably just a setting in the haltech that's not causing the fuel pump to turn on. But we'll deal with that in a second. Let's see if we can get these fans working. All right, so we got thermal fan, wiring, sign. Could have swore it was purple and black. Ah, here we go. So we can get rid of that. All right, let's see if we change this to like 50 if it turns on. Say well below 40. Okay, I hear they're doing something. Okay, well, that doesn't seem to be working. On to the next problem, I guess. Well, you're never gonna guess what it was. Just not a good ground, which I'm not surprised. So let's do that. Let's do this. Look at that. Working fans, working fans. So now we gotta figure out the fuel pump. So I was just talking with Jason about what's been going on, and I remembered I did the exact same thing on the 8.6. The haltech is hooked up. Yeah, it turns on. The chassis isn't hooked up to the battery. We can't turn anything on because it's not hooked up. Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can get this just hooked up real quick. We should have a working fuel pump then. You want to hold that fuel line, Jason? I have a feeling when I actually connect this ground, we'll hear a fuel pump turn on.
Yeah, there's pressure.
We got fuel pump! Right in your face. Cool. Well, that makes me feel a lot better that we're making some progress here. Next big one is probably the distributor. Jason's finishing up the fuel rail brackets right now, so I can do that. I'll probably get the fuel pressure sensor wired up here yet tonight. But the big thing here is my birthday. I actually share a birthday with my dad, and this is his car. I think it'd be pretty cool to set a goal to drive this on our birthday. I think it can be done as long as I can get Derek here to help me with the distributor rotor phasing. Because in all reality, the wiring's pretty much done tonight. I'll have the fuel pressure sensor wired up, and so it's coil and fuel injectors done. I think it's doable, but I'm gonna let Jason finish up the rails here, and then I'll pick you guys back up and we'll do the fuel pressure sensor. All right, so it's been a week and we're back. Technically, we only have today and next Wednesday before my birthday. Mind you, I'm gonna come out here and work on the weekends and stuff like that. Goal for today, Jason is gonna make some fuel lines, and I'm gonna wire the fuel pressure sensor and maybe start wiring the fuel injectors. I'm not 100% certain if I'm gonna do that yet today. But that's kind of my goal, because then we're just chipping a couple things away here. Jason is gonna, like I said, be doing the fuel lines. He loves making AN lines now that he knows how to do them. It's a deadhead system, so the lines are gonna come from our fuel pressure or our fuel pump right there, and they're just gonna Y to each rail. There's technically no return because the setup has a return built into the fuel pressure regulator, which is in the tank. So it should just be a static 60 PSI.
We'll figure out where I want to put these two lines because I have to work around the distributor here. And I just don't want the lines laying all over everything, but that might be the case. We'll see.
Okay.
So we're gonna figure out where this Y is gonna sit so we're not pinching off the line. We do have a spot we can mount it up front there, but I'm not 100% sure that's gonna work. But I just have to do a little test fitting and we'll go from there.
While Jason's doing that, I'm gonna work on the fuel pressure sensor here. So I gotta pull some lines back through and pull a line out and then wire it all.
Just have to remember how to make them. It's been a while. I mean, that'll actually look kind of cool coming up there.
Okay, that's power and ground. Now we just need input. Yeah, so the only weird part we got here is the only spare AVI in the 550 is a shielded wire for an O2 input. We're not using it that way, so we'll just have to strip back the shielding. It's not the end of the world, just a little goofy is all.
Where's my bolt? I don't think that's the right bolt. Looks too big. Well, at least when you bump into this hood, you don't have to worry that it's going to fall down.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get a P-clamp for right here,
Yes.
and that'll be all done there. So I think the next course of action is maybe getting the wideband put through, maybe. I don't really want to get in Jason's way too terribly much until he's done with that, because we gotta run all those wires over to the battery area. Oh, you know what I could do?
Oh.
I could pull a couple wires through that aren't plugged in right now to make a little bit more room.
To get that.
The plug in.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and then reinsert.
And just,
that.
yeah, because like the wire's not that big, it's the plug that's the problem.
Right. Yeah, that one, that'll make some good space. That was a big one. Boy, that gas stinks. It's old.
Yeah. Here we go. Come on and grab that. Just kind of shove it down that way.
Down here?
Yep.
Where does it have to end up?
Just down underneath the car.
Oh.
I think I'm gonna take all the spark plug wires off,
Yeah.
because we gotta mess with the rotor phasing and stuff like that. So I was just looking at some distributor things, and I'm not the most Pontiac of Pontiac people. I'm pretty sure when my dad put this distributor in years ago, it's technically backwards. I mean, it shouldn't really matter as long as everything's in the right position, but for syncing it and some other stuff, I think I'm gonna pull all the spark plug wires off, pull the distributor out, get it in the correct way that it should be, and then hope like hell we did it right. I don't know. I think that's unfortunately what we're gonna have to do though, because I don't have a good reason by it because, but it's just what we're gonna do now. So I'm gonna pull the distributor out, I'm gonna pull the cap off, take a look at some of the wiring inside so we can get that figured out, and then maybe put it back in and again, hope that we did it right. So.
Phew, more room for activities.
I'm stressed out about that now, Jason.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're having a better night than I am, Jason.
Well, so far, I could make this a little longer in here, so I can't really reach it. I need 3 hands. Can you hold this line?
Huh?
Can you hold this line so it doesn't twist
yeah.
in? Got it. Excellent, thank you.
Well, we got the fuel lines all done. I don't know if I showed you guys that. I might mess with the injectors here a little bit and see if I can get some of that at least wired. So if we can, I know I don't have enough wiring to do both sides, but if I can get at least one side done, I'd feel pretty good about that maybe. I pulled the distributor out. I'm nervous about that a lot, but yeah, we'll just have to play it one thing at a time. So I'm gonna keep going here and kind of do some measuring. I'll pick back up with you guys. So I maybe kind of sort of forgot to record, but got all the injectors wired on this side. We're going to run power and signal to the other side, but I also don't have enough wiring here right now. Jason was working on getting the alternator hooked up, the factory coolant temp sensor. I mean, we're making some progress. It's not as much as I'd like, but also there's not as much that needs to be done, you know, so it's kind of hard to, we're picking and choosing our battles because we don't have many. We can't just throw a dartboard at a wall and be like, we're going to do that. So, Jason.
Got the AN lines plumbed up. They're looking pretty sharp. They're disconnected now because we need more O-rings for our injectors before we can press the fuel rails down and finally hook everything up. We were gonna try to test the fuel pressure, but I remember the one side didn't have any O-rings. So next week we'll get those O-rings in here and then we can see what kind of pressure we have. But it's coming along. We're gonna get there. It's just the little stuff that takes forever.
I think, well, the wiring's supposed to show up tomorrow. I'll probably finish over the weekend doing the fuel injectors. So then it's just coil, crank sensor. That's crank sensor. Yep. So I mean, it's very doable. I think we're almost there. Mm-hmm. There's some factory wiring stuff that we got to figure out yet, but that's okay. One thing at a time.
Right. We'll get it.
We still have to mount the haltech, but don't really need that to start it or drive it. I think that's pretty much it, honestly. I'm trying to go through stuff in my head to make sure, and I'm not remembering anything, so that's always a good thing. I try and make lists. I've got one on my phone, so I'll just go through that later. But this is actually where we're going to leave this episode, so if you guys look forward to this and want to see more content, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next time.